And I just see a big disparity between our perspectives in how much of a threat this is. I just don't see it as a big threat. I mean, I see occasionally I see people who uh, I never stumble upon these people on my own. They're always highlighted by somebody who's making fun of it or arguing about it. But someone who thinks that objectivity doesn't exist, or that science is they're anti-science, and that all this stuff, and I just think that is destined to fail and is destined to just be a fad, and not even a popular one at that. Like, I just science has such predictive ability and has such a profound effect on our actual real world and in our lives, and what works and what doesn't work. And it's the process itself. I mean, it speaks for itself. The results speak for themselves, and I don't think that's something that is so easily dismissed.
Well, I agree with you in principle, but the way that the ideology is framed, it's kind of entwined with essentially a kind of revolutionary fervor, which we've seen plenty. And this comes from fundamentally like a Marxist-Leninist point of view. I don't even know if the Marxist-Leninists really know whether they're being used as useful idiots, because fundamentally they don't agree with the bottom premise of wokeism, which is that everything is subjective. They don't agree. They are materialists. They are objectivists. They believe that there is an objective reality,
Mm-hmm.
but they also agree that everything should be made equal, and that's what the wokeists also agree with. And the wokists can make very good arguments for inequality being everywhere, because obviously we're all different. Of course, we're unequal. And
Right.
and this is why I think it meshes so well with communism. But the actual Marxist, there are lots of communities of raging Bolsheviks who despise wokeism, and I've actually had quite good conversations with them, because I'm a property owning liberal, so they don't like me either.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not insidious in the way that wokeism is. Wokeism is very, very good at subversion, and I'm not sure I can fully explain why, to be honest, but I think it's something to do with the sort of tangential attack that they're going for. It's difficult to defend against, right? Because the fact that they're using two different definitions for the word racism, in their definition of an extrinsic systematic racism, there's no point calling an individual a racist, right? It doesn't mean anything. You're saying I am a system of structural oppression. That doesn't make sense, but they know that you care about the word racism. They know you have a different definition of racism, and you react to being called a racist. No one wants to be a racist. Literally no one wants to be a racist. So even the racists didn't start out wanting to be racists. So it's a very effective angle of attack, and it's a very complex ideology that's taken decades in academia to be cooked up. And so I'm not surprised that the regular person just goes, okay, well, I don't want to be a racist. I'll go along with whatever you say. And this has conquered corporations, it's conquered governments now.
I think the issue, going back to what you said, John, about how pervasive this is, I think the issue is, I agree. You walk around the street, you interact with the average person, they don't know any of this woke crap, or they don't know what you're talking about. But it seems like it's like a top-down influence. Like, you look at the New York Times, they fire Tom Cotton. They fired the editorial op-ed guy who's been there for 30 years because, he published an op-ed, or oversaw the publishing of an op-ed of a sitting senator, because it was, wasn't, the op-ed that Tom Cotton had was, damaging and not politically correct enough. And you just see these institutions that we're supposed to trust, like New York Times or other publications, Washington Post, or a lot of universities. And it seems like it's impossible for anyone in these institutions that I think hold a lot of sway in public opinion to criticize a lot of the woke narrative and the woke ideology.
Yeah, a lot of times in the same way Christianity used to be the same way.
Yeah.
Like there was a
And
time when you
look at,
couldn't criticize Christianity in the same way that you can't criticize these social justice institutions without fear of backlash or some sort of social ramification. It kind of seems like that's the same thing that's going on now with the woke culture. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah,
Ryan.
and
What makes you think that won't happen again if Christianity had a revival that would get rid of all this wokeism, and wouldn't we just be returning to a different form of political correctness, where if you
Yes.
say anything against the religion, then
Perhaps it's
yes.
something that we like just
I
part
think
of human nature.
I don't know. I mean, me and Adam argue about this. I am not 100% not in favor of replacing wokeness with religion because, yeah, I agree. That would just go right back to the way things used to be.
No, you're absolutely right. It would absolutely be the sort of institutional political correctness of Christianity versus wokeism. I don't think we necessarily want to go back to anything. We need to, or we can't go back to anything. So
You
we've got to think, okay,
progressive. Look at you.
Oh
no,
my
it's-
God.
linear time. I don't know. It's one of those things, But and the thing is, if we went back, we'd probably end up back where we were in 5 years' time anyway. But the question, I guess, wouldn't be. I think it would be something more along the lines of what is more damaging and more dangerous. Because I agree that the Christians are not good. In like the evangelical, hardcore, Bible thumping, your gays are going to hell Christians, and that's not good, right? That is an oppressive form of theocracy. But it's not a revolutionary form of theocracy. It's something that you can actually deal with in argument, because they accept a bunch of secular premises, and the wokeists don't accept any of your premises
who
from
accepts the
personal
secular
agency.
arguments?
Well, they'll say, yeah, constitutional democracies are good.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
They do.
They'll say that. Hey, of course, they'll say that. They'll be constitutionalists. They won't want to, overthrow the republic or anything, but the wokists will.
I've encountered plenty of religious people that would prefer a theocracy, like Christians that would want a theocracy.
I'm not
Catholic
saying they don't
grapers
exist.
and stuff.
Yeah. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I don't think they're going to get one. Whereas I think the wokists are getting really quite powerful, and despite all of the trouble that they've caused, we don't see any significant pushback in public life. I mean, Barry Weiss was bullied out of the New York Times, and I mean, she's saying literally what she's saying just sounds like my channel in 2017. Like recently she went on a podcast with, who was it, and said, oh, well, this is like social murder. And it's like, I've been saying that for years. They're all singing from my hymn sheet now. So it is something I think is going to get to the very top of the biggest institutions in society. And I think it's already there. And I think the problem is, because anyone can be like a moral legislator in it, a tool like Twitter allows millions of these hyped up, dopamine addicted moral legislators to find someone that has made a moral infraction by the most pure reading of the correct politics from the woke perspective, and jump on that person. And then suddenly, oh my God, everyone's calling that person a racist, and everyone agrees that person's a racist for X, Y, and Z reasons, even if that's not necessarily true, or even whatever definition you're using. And therefore they have to move, they have to take action because they feel like something's going to happen. It's like pressure chamber feeling, even though these people barely represent anything in society at all. And you see every corporation bowing down to it now because they just don't know. The people running these corporations are afraid. They don't know what to do. McDonald's is putting out like trans propaganda. It's like, dude, sell me the fucking burger. I don't want to be lectured.